part 5. I'm actually in the same spot. There's a bit of a holdup. If you look right over there, that tiny little railing across the rock, that's what we're going to be hiking next. So I'm going to cover the rest of part 5 from El Camino del Rey, where we're going to talk what about the pipeline review and real-world coaching. First, real-world coaching. When you did your career planning session, you were able to go and identify very specific skills that they needed to work on. I recommend that every rep, you're measuring these 7 skills. If they're responsible for pipeline generation, these first 3. If they're not, you can skip the first 3. What % of those people that they're reaching out to respond to them? What % of those individuals that respond agree to meet? What % of those that agree to meet show up? Now you have your pipeline generation skills. SDR should for sure have this, and reps that are responsible for self-generating should have those. The next metric, and this is for all of those that are closing deals, what % of those that show up to the meeting convert into pipeline? Then, what % of those that convert into pipeline go through each stage of your pipeline? So we'll go from stage 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. I recommend a 5-step sales process. We'll cover that in another session. What's your overall win rate from stage 1 all the way to close? How long does it take to close? So your average deal length, and then average deal size. Each rep, you should be able to go in and take a look at and say, where are they greatly below where you would expect? What I usually look for here is they are less than half of what would be expected. As an example, it's pretty normal when outreaching into customers that at least 10% of individuals respond. If they're not doing that, and let's say they're below 5% or 5% or below, it's a really easy skill to go fix. Usually takes less than a month. I'm going to teach how to go do that in other sessions, but that's where I'd go focus on. Discovery. Are they converting ideally 80%? So they were choosing who they were reaching out to. You have a product that makes sense for that buyer. Are 80% going into pipeline? Now, some organizations, 50% makes sense, but if they're less than half of that, so they're either at 40% if the target's 80, or 25% if the target's 50%, that's where you go focus, okay? Then what you do is every single week, you need to go in and choose, you're gonna go in and work just on that skill. So if you're pipeline generating, which you do in the very beginning when a rep starts working with you, or later on if they slip back into some bad habits, your hour of real-world coaching is not on deals. You're going to let them go work the deals on their own, unless it's a top 5 deal, which we'll talk about in the pipeline reviews. But they're going to go in, and you're going to do either role-playing, or you're going to go in and show them how it's done, or you're going to observe them doing it, or you're giving feedback on what to go do next as they continue to work on that skill. So you teach the principles of why it matters. You show them how to go execute. You observe them executing what you taught, and then you give feedback as to what to go do. So you go through that cycle. Every week you go in and do that. Now let's say you have a rep that's struggling on stage 2 to stage 3. This is now where you proactively are picking deals. I want you, Mr. and Mrs. Rep, to invite me to one meeting this week that is a stage 2 deal that we could progress to stage 3. And you're doing the same thing. You've taught them already what are the core principles on how we move deals from stage 2 to stage 3. You've shown them, you're observing them, you're giving feedback. So it's one of those 4, and every week you rotate between which of the 4 it is. That's real-world coaching. It is really, really important that you make this part of your rhythm. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll need to be involved in every deal. So your reps that are asking you to get involved in every deal, it's a waste of time. You haven't proactively taught them using this system. Next is pipeline reviews. So we talked about monthly. You're going to go and review every single deal in the pipeline. Then what you do the other 3 weeks of the month is you review the top 5 most strategic deals that can move the needle for them to go and hit quota. And in that, you're impacting. In this meeting, you're actually impacting the forecast by going in and saying, hey, what if we go do this? This is not just a deal review where you kind of sit in a chair and like a king or queen just sit there and say, oh, this is what you need to go in and do. You actually get involved. Ask them, what's going on with this deal? What did the customer say? How did they say it? Okay, what if we bring this person into the sales process? What if we use this video to go show them a video testimonial? What if we use this reference? What if I jump on a call with you? So you review the top 5 deals. From that, because you've also done your every deal pipeline review earlier in the month, You then are able to go into a forecast. So that's part of your pipeline review session. In the forecast, I recommend you collect their commit. Lowest reasonably they're going to go close for the quarter. If they're saying a ridiculous number, challenge them on that. Best case, what's the highest they'll reasonably go in the best case? Challenge them that if it's unreasonable. And then you go and you look at that relative to quota and see how you can go influence it. So, hope you enjoyed the management operating rhythm from Camino del Rey. I'm going to go do the last leg of the hike. Hope y'all enjoyed it.